I can't stress enough. I mean, like, it takes a lot of money to operate these kinds of things. I mean, you're going to have to give back.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way you frame that. This is an investment for all of us. We all need to care because these young people are part of a civil society, right, that we're all a part of. And so in some way we are all connected, even if it doesn't always feel like it.
No,
these
you're
young
connected.
People, right?
I mean, he could start a small business and then hire people and then pay taxes and rehab, fix up an old house, fix up an old building. Like, so you don't know where this leads. So every little bit that we do to fix up a corner in our life affects the entire community. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready because we are going above the legal limit. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I have a really cool guest. I'm super excited. Rheneisha Robertson, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I'm an interrupter. I wanted, because Rheneisha, this is really cool, is with the Covenant House. Mm-hmm. And so let's just jump right into it. Like, tell our viewers, the millions and millions of viewers we have, tell them about the Covenant House.
Yeah, Covenant House is a part of a large federation of sites throughout the North Americas that works with supporting youth, for us, 16 to 22, who are experiencing and overcoming homelessness. So we're one of 34 sites across North Americas. We have a couple sites in Canada, mostly in the U.S., and then a few sites in Central America. Wow. And so we've been based here in New Orleans for the last 38 years, providing safe shelter for youth who are either literally on the street, living on the street, or young people who are unstably housed or in unsafe housing environments. And there are, so many reasons why young people are experiencing homelessness, experiencing abuse and neglect in the home, young people who are asked to leave their home because of their identity, young people who are in the foster care system. About a third of the young people that come to Covenant House have been in and out of the foster care system. And
Just
on their
a bit of irony in that. But
on their 18th birthday, and they're exiting foster care, and the foster family says, "That's it, you've got to go." They end up at Covenant House. So we see close to 700 young people every year who come to us in need of services.
Okay. Well, all right, full disclosure, you're like a local institution, so I didn't realize that you were part of a larger federation. So I just learned that. And so what you and I were talking about before, tomorrow is the big show. So I really appreciate you coming because I know you have your hands full. This last minute, I'm so glad you guys reached out. I know tomorrow's the sleep out. Yeah. And so I have participated in this before. My law partner, Phil, has participated in it. I like sleeping out, so I actually had a great time. I don't know that Phil had as good of a time as I had, but what it is, the sleep out is a great opportunity for people in the city to come together and show solidarity and really provide like awareness and support for the Covenant House. And so we all sleep out. You get a cardboard
box,
and we write our donors on it, and then we sleep on the cardboard box. Me being like a big camping guy, like I'm super comfortable when I'm out there. It's like, I've got the top of the line, sleeping bag liner and the bag, and then I'm on the thermarest pad, and I've got multiple, all ultra lightweight, right? Yeah. Others, maybe not so much. It was really funny when we did the sleep out. The guy next to me is another lawyer in town, was snoring so loudly. I really didn't sleep all that much. And there is, because of where the Covenant House is located, there is a pretty substantial overhead lighting. Yeah. Full disclosure, if you're looking to sleep out, but you're not doing it for the comfort. But it's really funny because he's snoring really loudly, and then the next morning I hear him telling somebody next to me, he's like, "I couldn't sleep at all. Justin was snoring the whole night." And I was like,
Like, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, sure it was me. But so that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, you're right. How many people are sleeping out?
Right now we have a little over 200 people registered. So some of those will sleep virtually.
Virtual sleepers?
Virtual sleepers, a few people, but most of those folks will be sleeping out tomorrow night on Rampart, 611 Rampart Street, all wrapped around the building. It's barricaded. It's safe. A lot of
That's
people
the
ask
safest
us that.
night. No,
It's
that's
the safest
safe.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like when Justin. When Taylor Swift was in town, everybody was in the French Quarter. And I was like, all these young girls in the French Quarter at night. The French Quarter's not safe anymore at night. And then I saw a video of it, and I was like, oh, it's probably the safest New Orleans ever been, right?
Right.
So same thing here. Like this
thing.
really is. There's a lot of people there.
A lot of people there. Some people sleep, some people don't. Some people are, like you said, snoring. My husband, he's always in the, the courtyard, like snoring, keeping people up like you.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, you don't know who's going to be sleeping next to you. We have bank presidents that sleep out. We have members of the media. We have, community members from all walks of life, lawyers, doctors, little old ladies who just care about our young people and care about the work that we do, and they sleep out. This is our 13th year. Which is pretty cool to say.
That is pretty cool.
We have people who have done it all 13 years.
I wish so. So the virtual sleep out. So I will, full disclosure. So this is the 1 week a year where I get to go camping and hiking. Really, it's really hiking with my guy friends. And so this is my time to unplug. There's no cell service, which is really hard. There's there are only a couple places left, that don't have cell service. This still is one of them. Last I checked, hopefully, and I find living in this world, I mean, I work, my wife works, my kids are in school, and my kids they're way more involved than I ever was growing up, right? We've got baseball, ballet, karate, double ballet, the Nutcracker, right? You can't just do one. It's like, and then all, the rock and roll school and guitar lessons and whatever. So basically, and then, we're moving so fast. Yeah. We're moving so fast all the time. I see my kids for like an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the evening. I'm not like a derelict parent. I don't even look at the camera when I say that. I'm like, believe me. But, we're all moving so fast. Yeah. So getting away sometimes helps to kind of like take a minute.
Recenter you.
Kind of just like relax. Yeah. There are no emails. Nobody's getting called homesick. My wife always gets mad because anytime I leave town for something like this, my kids both have strep, right? And it's the kind of strep where they don't just have a fever, but they're throwing up on you at the same time, like the rare strep, right? It's just like every time. And so actually, my kids' school just sent an email that's like, hey, there's a fifth disease is spreading. I had to read it. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I was like, oh man, Lindsay, you're in a pickle because I will be out of town. It's going to be your disease, right? You can't call me. But I will be sleeping out. So how does the virtual sleeping out work?
Yeah. So, after COVID, we had to figure out how can we still keep people connected to this cause? And so we were able to do a small program in Armstrong Park, which is right next to Covenant House. And then for folks who were like, we're not chancing it, we were able to do a live feed. Okay. And they were able to see the program and participate in that way. This year, we're not going to do the live feed, and we're moving back to campus. So all of the night's activities will be on site, but we will be able to provide for the virtual sleepers some pieces of the program that we incorporate. So you'll get to, see some of our young people who share their stories, and they're really powerful stories. I'm always like, I'm doing this work every day, and I'm always moved to tears when I hear these young people talk about not just what they've gone through, what they experienced, but what they're overcoming, and the incredible strength that they have. One, the bravery, the courage just to show up.
Absolutely.
right? And say, I need help. I'm homeless. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm not connected to anyone that it's in my life to help me. And they push through that and they show up. But then to have them talk about, day after day after day, they're working so hard to reach all of these goals that they've set for themselves. They wake up and they're going to work, and then they're going to school, and then you have young moms with young children, or the young expectant parent, and they get up every day and they're catching the bus, and they're going to work, and then they're transitioning and they're going to school. They might be working overnight, and their lives, as much as their trauma has been complex, the complexity of the lives that they live just to try to make it to the next day and reach a level of stability. And for those who are parents, to be able to recognize the importance of breaking some of those generational cycles.
Yes.
It's just incredible to me. And so you'll get to experience some of that through their own stories, which is pretty cool. It's nothing like, of course, being in the building with our sleepers, our donors, and our young people. But you get a little bit of the sense of, what these young people have gone through and how powerful this work is in making a difference in their lives.
I think we talk about this a lot in my family. Our kids do things that we as adults would never want to do. And I really appreciate when I watch my kids, I'm like, our kids are so brave. Mm-hmm. They are so brave in ways that we are not. I can drop my 8-year-old off and in a place she's never been, doing where she doesn't know anybody, where and just even that, you imagine if I was just going to drop you off at a convention or something, like you don't know a single person there, right? You don't even know what it's about. You don't know what's going on. You're just getting dropped off and just be expected to then thrive. And that's the easiest example. I mean, the kids are so brave. They are so brave, and they do, and I just think it bears mentioning over and over and over again, because I'm always so impressed by what I hear kids go through. And then the other side of that is or being able to ask for help, knowing when it's like, but the other side, what they're asking for, they're not asking. It's not like, oh, I'm working so that one day I can be like a CEO of a conglomerate, right? They're not like, oh, I'm here because I want to be a professional movie star. Like what they're seeking is so free and common, and they don't have it, is normalcy, stability, like a normal life, a family, or a job, or, I mean, we take these things for granted. We all do every day.
You're right.
I love the work you guys are doing for the kids. I really do. I'm glad you saw my video. Like our LeDuc Entertainment shot it for me, and so it was a few weeks ago. I was starting to realize that I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep out. And I realized when I was asking around here that just, everyone's like me. Everyone's moving so fast. And so I get it, I want to be able to do it. But so I was like, well, let's do this. We can at least, maybe shoot a video about it, and because we're doing it anyways, right? So we're shooting videos. I advertise. I'm an advertising firm. So it's just not extra work for me to just shoot a video to kind of say why I think it's important, and then we'll put some ad dollars behind it to try to get it to some of the community members. And then my marketing people, they know all that. So they know how to get it in front of the right audience to ensure that people in the community. So I'm blessed to have you here today. I'm honored to have you in the building. To talk about this, knowing what awaits you in the next 36 hours. I know y'all were really involved in sort of anti-trafficking for a while. I mean, where did that? I know that you guys were with be for real. We were talking about strippers in the French Quarter, and I know that was a major issue for trafficking, and you guys were on the forefront and supporting the local community. Or is that still Still a fight every day?
Absolutely. We are still the co-lead for the Greater New Orleans Human Trafficking Task Force. So we work with law enforcement. We work with, on the prosecutorial side, we're working right now in partnership with the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office. They're the other co-lead for this task force. And we're working with service providers, survivor service providers. So those organizations who are in the community providing support for those survivors of human trafficking. Once they're recovered, once they are able to be removed or remove themselves, which is in and of itself, so dangerous. And
right.
There's great risk in that for them. But once they're able to connect with the local social service community supporting survivors, then we can then address it from a legal aspect, or sometimes they're recovered as part of operations in partnership with local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. So our job is to bring all of these folks together in an effort to have a coordinated approach that is also trauma informed.
Yeah.
So we understand how important it is not to re-traumatize and penalize the victim, the survivor. And so we're working.
I wish Baton Rouge understood the significance of that statement.
Yeah.
And who the victim is here. Right, and so who should be penalized? Like what crime took place?
Yeah,
I really, if it were me, if it was like Justin Chopin, I got this. I'm in charge of Baton Rouge from here on out. So dictator, right? It would be solicitation's the crime, and that's that. Mm-hmm. And then we're not going to treat you like a criminal.
Yeah.
We're going to and I think if more cities were to approach trafficking in that way, I'm glad that we even refer to it as trafficking now, because like 10 years ago, if you said trafficking, you were really talking about like something you see on TV. Yeah. Right, like you're just stealing children, sending them overseas, right? And people don't realize here in the New Orleans community the extent in which human trafficking takes place. I didn't know that. I mean, I was taught that by great organizations like Covenant House.
The complexity of trafficking, right? And even to the extent that we don't shed a lot of light on the labor trafficking that takes place as well. So it's really diving deeper into the complexities, and part of what we do is really being focused on educating the community. One is, we're not asking folks to, start grabbing potential survivors or victims of trafficking. But what we're saying is, hey, there are signs. Like we know, like we've done this long enough to know there are signs, there are patterns, there are trends. There are things that you just know, you get a gut feeling and reaction that something's not right here. And so, we all have, I think, a responsibility as interveners when we see something that we know is not right to speak up and say something. And so when you say something, it's so important that you know who to say something to. So we do a lot of education in the community, training. We're working in spaces where we know trafficking is happening. New Orleans is that sweet spot and also such a dangerous spot because of the access points. We have the port, we have the airport, we have two major airports, so we know that there are places, right? And then the entertainment industry, so we know that this is a hot spot, and so we want to make sure that the community is aware, that we're also working with law enforcement so that they are not re-traumatizing and penalizing our survivors, the victims, and also we're doing our part to start addressing this from the buyer standpoint. Yeah. Right? Because it's, one thing is the trafficker, the other
know where that crime is, right? Like that's easy,
but it's the buyer, which is creating the demand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes. It's where if nobody was buying, they'd be selling something else. And so ultimately, it's the supply side. That's the business of it. We get it. It was interesting. I don't know if it was this Mardi Gras, or maybe it was the last time we had the Super Bowl, but it was really in the headlines. And so I'm thinking like, okay, so January's coming. I mean, if you're listening to this, watch the headlines,
Yeah.
read the criminal, reports. Then when they come out, you will see this enormous spike in trafficking in New Orleans around these events. It's wild. I mean, it's and not to make light. I mean, it's like, it's not the world that I live in. And so when you read it, you think, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's very easy to disassociate yourself from that.
Yeah.
But you realize that this is the community that we're living in.
Yeah.
And so I think I agree with you. This is another example of where I think kids are just so much braver and stronger than adults can be. As adults, we don't want to step in. We diffuse our responsibility. We say, well, someone else will handle that, right? There's like an old psychological study. A woman was being murdered on a bridge, in traffic, right? And surrounded by people watching, and no one does anything.
Yeah.
And the reason is because everybody says internally, well, like, I'm sure someone's calling the police. And everyone's screaming, call the police, but no one's actually doing anything. It's just complete diffusion of any responsibility you have to your fellow people, your brothers, your community members.
Yeah.
Children would never do that.
Yeah.
They would never do that. They would absolutely be the first one to scream and call and stop. So if you are a homeless youth and you find the Covenant House, what does it look like? Do you have a place for them to stay? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a 57-bed shelter. We call it our care center. We don't call it a crisis center anymore. Language is so important. And so, it's our care center because that's where young people are going to go first to receive the care, the immediate care that they need, making sure their basic needs are met. And so they just walk up to our gate, press the button. Someone says, how can I help you? They just say, I'm coming to Covenant House because I need a place to stay. Welcome. Push the door, push the gate, and they come in. And then they'll meet with our intake specialist, and Miss Samantha will welcome them, will, understand what their needs are. How can I help you? Let's first, do you need, what do you need immediately? Right? 'Cause sometimes they haven't eaten in days, or they just need a shower, or they just need a minute to rest. If they just need to rest, we'll allow them that time. And then when they're ready, Miss Samantha will walk them through our intake assessment, which is where we start the process of understanding what medical needs they have.
Right, like what their trauma is.
What their trauma is, and what brought them to Covenant House, and how we can support them. And we'll get them, as soon as we can, we'll get them onto the floor in our care center. And they'll have their own bed, and, it's kind of a dorm style in the care center, but they'll have their own bed in their room, and they'll share a room with maybe no more than 3 other youth in a room. And we have staff on the floor 24/7. We're a 24/7 facility, so we never close. And we have staff on the floor, and they're there just to help them with whatever their needs are. And then we start to connect them with a case manager and start to dig a little bit deeper into what their needs are. Maybe they, are ready to start a plan. Let's start setting some goals. And then we start helping them with, where are you in your education? Do you have a high school diploma or a GED? They call it high set now.
What do they call it?
The high set.
Okay. It's not a GED?
No, the high set.
Keep changing everything. All right.
Or do you need to get back into school? We're starting to see a lot more minors. So we, make sure they're registered for school, and we get them registered, and we make sure they're doing well in school. If they're looking for a job, we help them with job readiness. We help them build their resume and get them ready for job interviews. We make sure they're going to work. We
So
connect.
there's like accountability.
Yeah, we connect with
we
the
all
employers.
need help with accountability.
Right.
Like when I'm still in bed and I know the kids are up and I've snoozed, all my wife has to do is enter the room, and suddenly I'm like, just gonna shoot a quick email here, but I'm a right. We all need accountability.
Even the dog,
right?
The dog starts barking at 4 a.m. and he wants to go outside, and I'm like, snoring.
Right, exactly. Well, you guys made big headlines this year too, as you said about this education. I forgot about this. Like you had a valedictorian in your program, and that's wonderful. And so he's going to He's going to college. Is he going to Xavier?
He is. He's going.
I was glad to see. You know.
Yeah, he's going to my alma mater, Xavier University of Louisiana. He's studying art, and he's doing well. Just saw him on campus recently during homecoming week.
Is he going to talk tomorrow night or?
No.
Okay.
You know, there was so much attention.
A little too much attention.
You know, on it, and it was great because it really highlighted how important this work is, how it really gives young people opportunities when they're supported, and what, you know, the limitless potential that our young people have.
Right.
But for a young person who, you know,
I wouldn't like that kind of attention.
It's just a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, we want him to be set up for success. He's, you know, finally getting settled at school. He has a rhythm. He's registering for next semester. He did that all on his own, which,
that's awesome.
You know, this is what we want to see. And so we don't want to interrupt that,
100%.
Disrupt that for him.
No,
yeah.
I mean, look, I get it. I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a college kid, you know, too. Right. And so, and with probably a little less drive than he does. And so I probably, you know, the only reason I would register in those days was so long ago, you didn't register online. You had to wait in line. It was the original line.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember those
right?
days.
But, well, good. Well, that's, I'm glad to hear that.
But, you know, I'll just say, you know, he's incredibly bright, of course, valedictorian of his class, but the quiet leadership of this young man who, throughout this whole experience, all of the attention, always said how this kind of creates an opportunity for other young people. And that was his motivation. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about his any kind of self, you know, motivation to be in front of the camera, to receive all of this, you know, acknowledgement. It was about shedding a light on youth homelessness, and hopefully it would draw enough attention where other people would want to get involved in supporting other young people with this experience.
So you said 700 kids?
Close to 700 kids.
So you're almost seeing 2 kids a day.
Yeah, we have on our census, daily census, about anywhere from 150 to 160 kids every day, and that is throughout our programs. So on-site programs, we have probably 80 to 100 kids every single day who we're providing 3 meals a day.
Wow.
You know,
you charging them for this, right?
We're paying, right. They pay absolutely nothing.
It's all free. So you rely on the donors of people in the community. And so that's another element about the sleep out, right? So that is not cheap. I'm also providing 3 meals a day for children, and I can tell you it is not cheap. You know, and so if you know, I think it's an important cause. I think it's important for the New Orleans community to support. I think you guys are doing the right thing for the right people, and even if it's not something that you particularly care about and you're listening, you're like, well, you can always view it this way. It's an investment in yourself. So I care about New Orleans because I live here. My kids, you know, are growing up here. I want New Orleans to be better. What better way to make your city better than to invest early on? And this young man, he's going to do great. He's going to graduate. He's going to have a family. He's going to have a career, and if he stays here, wonderful. But if he doesn't, wonderful. You know, he's going to go on and get to live the life that he wants to live. And I think you guys helped with that. And so if you're listening, I think I can't stress enough. I mean, like it takes a lot of money to operate these kinds of things. I mean, you're going to have to give back. Yeah, I love the way you frame that. This is an investment for all of us. We all need to care, because these young people are part of a civil society, right, that we're all a part of. And so in some way we are all connected, even if it doesn't always feel like it. No, you're young connected. People, right? I mean, he could start a small business and then hire people and then pay taxes and rehab, fix up an old house, fix up an old building. Like, so you don't know where this leads. So every little bit that we do to fix up a corner in our life affects the entire community. Absolutely. So like every time someone comes in and they take an old building and they turn it into a restaurant, I'm always like, oh, thank God. And someone will say, well, that'll never last. And I always think, I don't even care. it doesn't even matter
Yeah.
because even if they go out of business, another business will come, and now we have a thriving business here, right? And so it's like every little bit you do to like clean up your own corner, invest in your own micro portion of the community, affects the whole broader community. It's one less child being trafficked, or it's one less child that doesn't go on to a criminal lifestyle, who then burdens, the courts and the tax system, and everything, and on and on and on, this generational problem. So, it absolutely affects every single one of us.
Every single one of us. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been stopped when people hear I work at Covenant House. Oh, you work at Covenant House? I used to live there. Or, my son was going through a difficult time and was, having some issues with, substance use, or, was just really having a hard time as a young adolescent with their mental health. And we just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to do. We had never been faced with this before. And Covenant House was there. Covenant House was there when we needed them. And so it's amazing to see the journey and where these young people land. They work in every facet of our community. Right. And it's amazing to be able to see that. Hopefully it was a brief, short period of time that these young people had to be, in a shelter or living.
It's not fun, right? I mean,
it's not fun, right?
Nobody wants to be there.
Yeah,
sure.
But that moment in time, we hope, will be hopefully a contributing factor to the success that they have later on in life, and that it's sustainable. Yeah. And then it pays dividends, because then we break those generational cycles of poverty and homelessness. So
hopelessness,
and
right?
Hopelessness.
That's people, there's always hope, but it's easy to say that. When you're not in that situation. Yeah. Well, look, I know you have a busy day. I'm so grateful that you came. Yeah. Tell our viewers where they can find the Covenant House and how they can help.
Yep, we're located at 611 North Rampart Street, right on the outskirts of the French Quarter. And you can go to our website, www.covenanthousenola.org. There's information about the Sleep Out there. And you can also go to the Sleep Out page, which is Sleep Out /event/NOLA, NOLA. And if you are, there's still time to register and Sleep Out, but also
I was gonna say, even if you miss the Sleep Out, because it's short notice and they may not see this probably won't get published until next, in a couple of weeks. So if you're listening to this, you blew it.
You missed it.
No, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming you necessarily, but you guys are operating year round.
We're operating year round. We never close. You have time to donate anytime. And you have time to find out more, learn more about the organization, what we do, and how you can support volunteering. We're always looking for volunteers to help young people, mentorship, coaching, financial literacy, supporting young people, hiring our young people, taking a chance on these young people and hiring them. If you are, business owners and you have an opportunity to hire a young person, making sure that young people know this community cares about them in their success.
I love it. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming. I wish you guys the best success on this Sleep Out. I'm sorry I won't be there. But, I want to stay in touch, and any way we can help, we're there too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for joining me today on Above the Legal Limit. If you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more about business and law, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. Remember, there's no limit to what we can achieve. We will see you next week. Until then, even though we're above the legal limit, let's drive safely. Cheers, everyone.